Hey everybody, it's Millennial Prepster here, and it's been a hot second. I'm glad to be making a video for you guys. A lot of big life changes happening the last couple months, and couldn't be happier to bring this video to you. Like I said, this is one of many videos. We're gonna keep to the homesteading preparedness mantra, so to speak. Super excited about it. So you guys can probably guess this topic of this video is ultimate homesteading preparedness animal. And so I'm guessing by the thumbnail and the title, you guys have probably already figured out that I chose rabbits. And so my job is the burden of responsibility is onto me to prove why I feel this is the case. I've watched a lot of videos out there about rabbits versus chickens versus ducks versus goats versus, what have you, different livestock animals. And, I truly believe that rabbits are the ultimate preparedness and homesteading animal. Every serious homesteader preparedness person that I know that keeps livestock, they keep rabbits. And I think that's just because of what I'm about to talk and mention in this video. So like I said, the burden of responsibility is 100% on me to bring you guys a good reasoning based upon science, facts, mathematics, good old common sense. And so here we go. So I have broken this down into 5 criterions. So 5 criterions that I believe are important in establishing what a good homestead animal, preparedness animal is. So criteria number 1 would be sustainability. Criteria number 2 would be feed to meat ratio. Criteria number 3 is litter sizes and gestation periods. Number 4, space requirements, and number 5, X factors. And by X factors, I mean pros and cons. So I think that it's important that we talk about when you're making a statement such as this, that you break it down. And I believe those 5 criterions are really important to establish. And within those criterions are going to be different categories. Okay, so for the first one, which is going to be sustainability, I have this broken down into 4 different categories. Number 1, feeding requirements. Number 2, maintenance requirements. Number 3, startup requirements. And then number 4, overall hardiness of the animal. Okay, so start with number 1, feeding requirements. Feeding requirements for rabbits are super easy, super simple. A rabbit could 100% be pasture raised, 100% without equivocation. My rabbits are pasture raised. I have a tractor that I move, and depending on how many rabbits are in the tractor will determine if you move that tractor once or multiple times a day. And by move, I literally mean grab it and pull. That simple. Make sure they always have water. I mean, it's really that easy. Now, let's say you don't have a ton of property to be able to do that on. Let's say your lawn isn't that big. Or let's say you don't want to use your lawn for that purpose and you're just wanting to use commercial pellets, that kind of thing. Well, commercial pellets, number 1, are easy to get and maintain. I mean, you can get them at any box store or feed store. You get them relatively cheap. I was able to get a good quality, 100% organic, no corn, wheat, or soy, overall good pellet for 50 pounds, 40 to 50 pounds, about 12 bucks. 12 bucks, yeah, about $12.99. And that's not including discounts and stuff like that. And that's just per bag. Obviously, if you buy in bulk, that price will go down. So overall, and they're easy to store, they're easy to maintain, they're easy to have long term. So overall, I think as far as feeding requirements go, rabbits are super easy to do and maintain. Okay, there's no added supplementation that's required. There's nothing crazy that you need. No hormones, no shots, nothing like that. So ease of maintaining food requirements, either free or extremely cheap and easy to do. Now, maintenance requirements. Now for this, I'm going to go kind of on the opposite side of the spectrum here. The minimum maintenance requirements are fairly easy, but let's say you did what I did. I bought name brand everything. When I had them in cages, name brand cages, name brand tractor, name brand water bottles, name brand feeders, name brand nesting boxes, you name it, it was name brand. And the reason why I did that is because when I first got the rabbits, I was in a very urban environment. So if somebody were to peer over my fence, or somebody were to be looking at my fence while they were on pasture, they would see a really nice tractor with rabbits in it. They wouldn't be the wise. Like, oh wow, that guy's letting his rabbits play outside. How neat is that? They wouldn't think, oh, this guy's having a feeding operation going on back here, so to speak. So I bought name brand for that reason, because I was in an urban area and I wanted to play the part of having rabbits. So super easy to do. Like I said, overall costs, I'm talking name brand everything, including to make myself a registered rabbitry, the paperwork, I mean, for everything. Even the computer program I use for my sires and pedigrees, everything under $1,000, and that's by name brand everything. So yes, is that a lot of money? Sure, absolutely. I totally can admit that's a lot of money for startup equipment. But however, I mean, it's been over a year and they've already made up that price in meat alone. So if you were, and that's just doing it at the highest end. If you were obviously DIY it or do it yourself, that cost would go down low, a fraction of that price. So overall, startup equipment is really easy, and I have extras. Like I said, I have extra water bottles, extra feeders, extra clips, extra metal, extra everything, extra litter pans. So, overall startup equipment is pretty easy. Minimum maintenance requirements. Rabbits are super simple. You feed them, you water them, you make sure they have a safe place to live, safe domicile. You clip their nails. You don't have to clip the Friar's nails, just your breeders you're gonna have for a while. You clip their nails a handful of times in their lifetime. I mean, it's really that simple. And the last category is overall hardiness. Rabbits are extremely hardy. They're very easy to maintain their health. Like I said, you pick up after them, you feed them, you water them, you clip their nails, make sure predators can't get to them. It's really that simple. You're going to have healthy rabbits. And if for some reason one does become sick or one does become ill, it's not like you're totally out. Like I said, rabbits, they breed quick, they multiply quick. If something were to happen to an animal where you lose it, it's not the end of the world. Okay, so there you have it for sustainability. All right, so criteria number 2, the feed to meat ratio. So how I've broken down this criteria into categories is going to be the pounds of feed to meat ratio, obviously, Friar size, and then we're going to talk about commercial feed right quick. So according to all the charts, research, science, they say it takes about 3 pounds of feed for every 1 pound of meat. Now that's going to change and differ with the kind of rabbit you have. I have New Zealand Blues, that's what I breed. And I would say when you have them in a cage setting, then yeah, 3-4 pounds of feed per pound is pretty reasonable. I mean, they're not exercising a whole lot. They're in a cage, doesn't require a whole lot of feed to get them, to that meat ratio. Now that they're pasture raised, yeah, it's significantly more. I would say maybe upwards 5 pounds of feed per 1 pound of meat. But it's kind of a misnomer because I'm not paying for commercial pellets anymore at all. They grab the tractor and I move it and they feed and it's good. They're mowing my lawn. I'm getting high quality protein from a non-human consumption plant source. So it's absolutely outstanding. So yes, now they eat more, but at the same time, it doesn't bother me because number one, I need the pasture mowed down, and overall, I think it's healthier for them. So there you have it. I mean, it's a really good ratio compared to other animals that can be upwards of 12, 13 pounds. If we're talking about different kinds of cows, meat cows, that kind of thing. Friar size. So what I mean by Friar is a rabbit that's ready to butcher at 8 weeks is what you would call a Friar. So Friar size are for my breeder rabbit, 5 pounds every 8 weeks. So every 8 weeks, the Friar weighs about 5 pounds. That's pretty damn good. So at 8 weeks, 5 pounds. At most it's 25 pounds of pasture they have to eat to get over an 8-week period to get me that 5 pounds. Like I said, it doesn't get much better than that. And then the last category in this criterion is commercial feed. We're going to talk about it one more time. Commercial feed is super inexpensive. It's easily accessible. You can get them at any feed store, box store, grocery store. You can get commercial pellets. Now, with that being said, I will say it's kind of funny that most prepared-minded people, most homesteaders that I know, give their livestock high quality stuff, and I think it's funny. I'd say I feed my rabbits better than 99.999% of all people that have rabbits as pets, and the reason for that is because I have a very high incentive to give them the healthiest food and lifestyle possible because I'm going to consume them. Therefore, I need to ensure that their livelihood is of the highest quality I can, because the higher quality for them means a higher quality for me. And that's what I love about permaculture, because you look at life in that lens. So I'm not here to just say don't feed them commercial pellets or anything. I'm not here to say that. If you are going to feed a commercial pellet, obviously I'd recommend going with something that is, organic. And by organic, I just mean that the pasture, compressed pellets that you get didn't come from a pasture that's been sprayed with tons of fertilizers, chemicals, herbicides, pesticides, fungicides, that kind of thing. When I was doing commercial pellets, I was able to get pasture grass from my zip code, and it was super cheap, super easy to do, and it was a great quality, of the best quality. So, like I said, I don't have to do that anymore because I'm on pasture. But beforehand, yeah, when I was living, in an urban, more of an urban homestead, so to speak, then yeah, I had my lawn, but overall, I needed to supplement with the commercial pellets. Now I don't have to do that. So, like I said, commercial feeds out there, super inexpensive to get, and they're very easy to store. So, if you're needing to do it in cage and that's your only option, there's great options out there available, and I would highly recommend going with those higher quality options. So there we have it for feed to meat ratio. All right, so criteria number 3 is going to be litter sizes and gestation periods. Now, the categories within this criterion are going to be kits per litter, gestation period, meats per doe per year, how you're able to ramp up food production, and overall, we got to talk about genetic defects of offspring, right? So quality of offspring, so to speak. So as far as kits per litter, like I said, this varies on the breed of rabbit. So, if I have to be very general when I say this, 6 to 12 kits per litter. Now, with that being said, with the New Zealand Blues, or just New Zealanders in general, Californians are very similar in this regard. They produce a lot of kits per litter. It's not uncommon for me to have a litter of 12. It just isn't. It's also, for other rabbits, it may be very common to have small little litters, but I would say for New Zealanders, Californians, if you're having litters of 8 and higher, that's pretty standard. That's a pretty standard litter size. So you're going to get a lot of kits per litter depending on the breed of rabbit. So as we talked about in criteria number 2, each Friar at 8 weeks is going to be approximately 5 pounds if you get a good meat rabbit. So if you're getting, consistently 8 to 10 every 8 weeks, do the math on that. It's definitely in your favor. So if you get a good meat rabbit, expect good litter sizes. Now, gestation periods are very quick. You're talking about a 28-day turnaround. And rabbits can get pregnant the day they give birth. Not saying you'd want to do that, but you're able to do that if you wanted to, breed your does like crazy. Me personally, I do a very conservative 1 month on, 1 month off cycle. So every time they give birth, I wait a month until, I breed them again, and I'm able to have great quality meat and big litter sizes without putting my doe through too much undue stress. So on average, you're going to get 300 pounds of meat per doe per year. So for me, 600 pounds of meat per year for 2 does is very simple and easy to do. And if you're talking about, so 600 pounds of meat, and let's just say, I don't know how much chicken is where you're at, but let's just be really conservative at $2 a pound. 600 times 2, 1,200 pounds that I'm saving essentially because I'm able to feed them for free. It's a no-brainer. And that's on the very conservative end. So you can see how easy rabbits are to pay themselves off. So yeah, 300 pounds of meat per doe per year. Food production. The one great thing about rabbits is your ability to ramp up food production. And what do I mean by that? Rabbits are one of those awesome livestock animals where if I needed to ramp up food production, not just for me, but for friends, family, neighborhood, community, township, city, you absolutely could if you're wanting to look at that level. We've seen this happen so many times. We've seen this in Europe. We've seen this in Cuba. We've seen this in South America. We've seen this all over the world. Rabbit is considered one of the overall renowned renewable food source. It really is. And so your ability to ramp up food production, I mean, you could take a guy like me and I can breed my rabbits and I can give them to neighbors, to friends, people in my community, and we can ramp up production. And within a couple of years, we could be feeding an entire city, an entire community of thousands of people on rabbits based upon their ability to procreate, their ability to easily maintain based upon the aforementioned things that I've already talked about. So ramping up food production is very simple to do with rabbits. And then lastly, they're less affected by the genetic defects. Rabbits breed like rabbits. That's what they do. So, interbreeding is not a huge issue. Genetic defects are not a huge issue with rabbits. And if you do get a few genetic defects, I, knock on wood, haven't had to deal with that yet. But if you did, I mean, they produce so many that if a couple are lost due to genetic defects or just natural causes in general, it's not a huge crisis, so to speak. It's not going to, damper your production at all. And it's very easy to get, outside sources to come in and help with your breeding program if you so choose. It's very easy to do. It's very common to do. It's, there's really no guesswork in it. So there you have it for litter sizes and gestation periods. All right, everybody. So criteria number 4 is going to be space requirements. So I've broken down this into 4 different categories. They sound similar, but they are different in very particular aspects that I think is important that we elaborate on. So overall feet required, based upon my math, my training, my experience, the science, what I've been able to do with 2 does, 1 buck, at a minimum 600 pounds of meat a year, I'm looking at 94 cubic feet. So what is 94 cubic feet? Well, take 2 large refrigerators, put them together, and there you have it. On one side, I had doe, buck, and then I had 3 cages, and then that was just for the litters. And how I separated everything was 1 doe, I would breed her, she would produce, she would get a month off. The next doe I would breed her 28 days. I have, 1 month. I have a litter. She gets a month off when I breed her. This one's ready to go. So as you can see, I was always having a litter that I was always taking care of. And every 8 weeks, the Friars, 5 pounds per rabbit would be dispatched and harvested. That's how I did it. And I was very successful doing that. So 94 cubic feet, 2 large refrigerators put together. So not a whole lot of space required. So stackability, that's what I want to talk about next. Stackability is huge. Obviously, I bought name brand cages, so they were able to stack with litter trays that came out. Makes it really easy for when you're cleaning and maintaining the overall health of the cage and of the animal. So being the fact that they don't need just an open space to run around, that you can stack them up on top of each other, makes it very useful in making sure that 90 cubic feet is exactly how I said it. 94 cubic feet is just doesn't have to be all flat like most livestock. Okay. Another great aspect about rabbits are they're inside-outside animals. I mean, you can have rabbits inside, and like I'm doing now, you can have them outside. As long as they have a way to escape the elements, they're going to do okay. They're going to do just fine. They're a very hardy animal. And then lastly, overall, if I had to really button this up in an overall, if I had to button everything up, they do great in limited space settings. If you have a garage, you can raise rabbits. If you live in an apartment, you can raise rabbits. You can raise, or if you're in a huge rustic field, with acres and acres of land, you can obviously do rabbits. Rabbits are very, very simple and easy, and they will, mold to your lifestyle, to your time frame. You can definitely do rabbits whether you have a ton of time or not a whole lot of time, as long as you can take care of the basics. Feed them, water them, give them a safe place to, live, clean up after them, and you can clip their toenails, clip their nails. They're going to be fine. They're going to produce for you. So there you have it, space requirements. All right, so for our fifth criterion, X factors. So we're going to talk about the pros and cons. So for this video, we've been talking a lot about the good things about rabbits and all the awesome things. So I'm going to talk about the cons right quick. And by cons, there's only really one that I can think of. If you guys can think of other ones, leave them in the comment section below. But honestly, I can't think of any cons besides this one, which is rabbits virtually have no fat on them. And depending on who you are, that could be a huge con. So for me, I personally I don't see it that way. Rabbits have more protein than beef, but as far as fat goes, they are very, very, it's a very, very lean meat. So if that's a deal breaker for you, well, there you have it. Being upfront and honest with you. Let's talk about the pros. I think rabbits taste great. Personally, I think, just like we talked about the cons, if you don't like the taste of rabbit, you're not gonna have the animal. It's not gonna have a utility purpose or a reason for you in regards to meat goes, because it's, you don't want to eat it. You don't like to eat it. Personally, I think it tastes great, and I love the taste of rabbit. So that's just an added, like I said, it's an added pro. It's great meat. The second thing, it's a very accepting animal. It's a very nonchalant animal to have, especially for those of you that are in the urban homesteading or just an urban city area. Yeah, obviously, if you had chickens or ducks in your backyard, like, people are going to know, oh, you have chickens because you want to eat their eggs at a minimum, or you're going to eat this animal. They know that there's a utility purpose as far as food consumption goes for that animal. For a rabbit, that's not the first thing they're going to think about. I had rabbits in my backyard, in the tractor. And, I remember, a neighbor had came over something, and he's like, oh, you have rabbits? I'm like, oh yeah, they're in the backyard. I like to have them, run around and stuff. He didn't even think twice about it. He's just like, oh, okay, well, that's super neat. I have a dog. I can't do that. Ha ha ha. It was one of those things. And so they're super accepting. There's a lot of HOAs and CCNRs, there's a lot of different associations out there that would prohibit you from having poultry, waterfowl, chickens, that kind of thing. I've never seen one association or CCNR or guidelines that restricts rabbits. Rabbits are just a very accepted animal, so that makes them great for a preparedness item if you're in a situation or if you're in a place where most things would be so-called outlawed. Third thing, they're super quiet, and I think super quiet is good for whether you live in the country or you live in a city. Having an animal that is super quiet, overall, it's very pleasant. It can be a very pleasant thing. And rabbits are super quiet. So that's another added bonus, especially for those of you out there that are in those urban settings or are in those places where you have associations, CCNRs, that kind of thing. They're not going to bring attention to themselves, so to speak. Next thing, they can be cooked in many different ways. It's a really great white meat. Any way you can cook chicken, you can cook rabbit. You can have it in pasta, you can have it fried, broiled, breaded. You name it. Like I said, any way you can have chicken, you can have rabbit. And I've had it cooked in many different ways. Everything from lasagna to tacos. Absolutely outstanding. The next one is they're extremely docile animal. Mine, I've never had a problem with them nipping, biting, attacking, nothing like that. They're super easy to handle, super easy to pick up. So you're talking about an animal that's super quiet, tastes great. You can pick up whatever you want. That's just, it's overall a good cuddly animal that you can have, and you can have and your family can enjoy. The next thing is they are a great nose to tail animal. What I mean by that, everything from the fur to the tail to the droppings can be used. The fur has a utility purpose. Whether you're making clothes, a blanket, what have you, there's a utility purpose behind that pelt. Ears can be baked, dehydrated to make rawhide for other animals, cats, dogs, etc. The bones can be used for bone broth. I've made some great curries from rabbit bones. Like I said, great bone broth. The feet can be used to make trinkets. You know, people like rabbit feet. I don't know. It's a thing. And the droppings, rabbit droppings are one of the few droppings you can put directly on plants without burning them. So it has a great permaculture, fertilizing, attribute to it, which is outstanding. The next pro is 4-H. The reason why I bring up 4-H is because, it's an animal in which there's a lot of resources out there, whether you're beginner to rabbits and this is your first pet ever to you're a certified rabbitry like myself, you've been doing this for a while. There's tons of resources out there. There's tons of people that show them. So whether you're trying to get a new breeding stock, you're trying to get to talk to people or networking, there is resources out there for rabbits. It goes back to them being a highly accepting animal. There's lots of networking abilities for rabbits, and there's a lot of shows, and there's rabbits are definitely utilized in many different attributes in 4-H. And then the last pro I have, it's a lean meat. I like the fact that it's a lean meat. I like the fact that I can have, it served in that way. Like I said, I can have rabbit served anywhere from having it, baked, wrapped in bacon, made in tacos, lasagna, pasta, you name it. So there you have it. That is my X factors, number 5, pros and cons. Hope you liked the video. If you have any comments, put them down in the bottom. Overall, like I said, it goes without saying to me, I think rabbits are the ultimate homesteading and preparedness animal based upon my training experience, based upon these 5 criterions. If you disagree with anything I said, please, let's have a conversation about it. Let's talk about it. But overall, that is why I believe, and I believe I have made the case here, that rabbits are the ultimate homesteading and preparedness animal. So hope you guys liked the video. And as always, guys, long live the Republic. That's what I call sustainable.